All right, we're back here on Sports Line. 737-7767 is the number. Phone lines are open for you guys to call in. Let's say hello to Michael. Michael, good evening.
Steve, great to talk to you, my friend. I haven't spoken to you since just before your accident. And I have to admit, my friend, you're my third best sportscaster that I've ever heard in my life. And I'm 63, so...
Well, thanks.
You're number 3, my friend. Cosell was first because he taught me that the American language is barbaric. Steve Stone because he proved that professionalism beats out the pretenders. And now you, my friend.
Well, that is incredibly high praise, so thank you very much, Michael.
Hey, wait, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I watched the poor man's TV, and I had to play with the antenna all the time, and I accidentally put on 58.2, and they were showing these guys playing Frisbee, and they were on teams. Have you heard of that?
Without having seen it, I don't know exactly, but I imagine it's ultimate Frisbee, which is a sport.
Well, right, they were playing it like football, you know.
Yeah.
They'd line up in the court, the Frisbee back would toss it out, and somebody would catch it, somebody would knock them to the ground.
Sure. No, that is ultimate Frisbee. So I have heard of that, and it's become a popular sport for sure.
Do you know by any chance if they make miniature Frisbees? Because I want to play with my little, Yorkie, and he's got a small mouth, and I don't want to hurt him with a big one.
Yeah. I do not. I'm sorry, Michael. I haven't covered an ultimate Frisbee thing. I can't even remember the last time I picked up a Frisbee, frankly. So I don't know if they make miniature ones, but I imagine somebody has thought of that out there, and you might be able to get your hands on one.
Would you look into that for me, and I'll call you back next week?
I will try to do that, sure.
We're talking about a little Yorkie's teeth, my friend.
That's true. I also...
Yes, sir.
Let's see. We'll try and get an answer for you on that, Michael. We appreciate it.
All right.
So,
bye.
Thank you. All right, let's move on and say hello to Nate. Nate, good evening. You're next up here on Sportsline. Hello, Nate.
Yes, sir. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for the call.
Yes. I have a couple questions. First about the Titans, and then about Vanderbilt men's basketball. I watched all the games this past year, and everybody's talking about, the additions we want to make on offense. But to me, it was the defense that really was a problem coming down the stretch. And, how do you feel about that coming up on the draft? And also about Vanderbilt's men's basketball. I know that this is only the coach's second year, but I think the expectations were a little higher considering Stallings did get us to the tournament. And I just want to, get your intake on whether you feel like Vanderbilt's basketball is. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate the call, Nate. First off, Vanderbilt basketball, this is not their year. Bryce Drew has two seniors that can really score, and Jeff Roberson, Riley LaChance, but there's not much else there. Losing Luke Cornett inside means there's just no real inside presence. This isn't a very good defensive team because of that. They're not a particularly good rebounding team because of that. And so that puts an awful lot of pressure on your offense. And two guys who have to score a lot of their points from the outside hitting jump shots. And Roberson and LaChance have been great this year, but it just hasn't been good enough more times than not, especially when they move away from home. So I would imagine next week in St. Louis for the SEC tournament, it's going to be a pretty short-lived trip for Vanderbilt next week. That said, don't worry about this program. Bryce Drew's a really good coach. I think what he does offensively with his guys and the freedom he gives them is terrific. I think it's the type of things that guys are going to want to play in and recruits are going to want to play in. And when you look at the recruiting classes, Darius Garland, 5-star local kid point guard who's a top 10 recruit in the country, he's coming in. You've got Simisola Shitu coming in as well. Those are guys that can make a huge impact for this team, and they're in on another 5-star as well. So in college basketball, you need one or two big-time players that can take you to the next level. Those guys are coming to Vanderbilt next year. Now, do they make the impact immediately next season? You hope so. We'll see, though. But that type of talent is what takes you to the next level. And I think this coaching staff at Vanderbilt has proven at their time at Valparaiso, and even here, with the improvement of the two teams and last year's team going from 11-13 to that great run in February and March to get themselves into the NCAA tournament, they've proven that they can coach. And when they get the right pieces and players, they're going to be good. So I expect big things from Vanderbilt down the road. If you're expecting it to come in the next 11 days before Selection Sunday, you're probably going to be disappointed. As far as the Titans go, there's no question to me that the biggest frustration of last season was an offense that at times 2 years ago averaged 30 points a game during a stretch. Marcus Mariota threw for 3,400 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. DeMarco Murray led the AFC in rushing. You just thought what was coming back was a dynamic offense that had the potential to be one of the best units in the league, and we never saw that throughout the course of the year. So the biggest frustration to me when I looked at the Titans in 2017 was the offense not reaching that level of expectation. That said, there are still some question marks on the defense. Interior linebacker, what do you do there? Do you feel solid with Avery Williamson at this point of his career? The pass rush at times was great. At other times, like we saw in New England in the playoffs, like we saw in San Francisco late in the season, other times they just weren't able to get home. And when they can't get home, that spelled problems for the backside. And that's why I asked John the question earlier, do they have to make another move in the secondary? Because I think you like what Logan Ryan did. I think you like what Adoree Jackson did as cornerbacks. Kevin Byard obviously was an all-pro at safety. Jonathan Cyprien played well late in the year, but was hurt for half the season and ineffective at other times. So the question is, do you feel perfect about your safeties, and do you have to make another move or two at cornerback to upgrade what you can do against pass coverage? My answer is yes. I think the Titans probably have to draft another cornerback here at some point and try to go, 3 across. Have 3 really reliable cornerbacks that they can go to. I think that's an important position. I'm willing to give Cyprien another year before I would make a big move there, just because he was hurt, and I think he did show his worth late in the season and in the playoffs. But yeah, you've got to evaluate that completely. And there are some question marks about that defense. They performed well against the run last year. They put up decent sack numbers, actually improved on the previous season. But a lot of that last year came in big games. I mean, they had a couple games where they had like 8 sacks in the game. That'll pile up numbers quickly. But they also had several games where they didn't have any. And your defense is going to be in trouble in the National Football League if you can't affect the quarterback at all. And they unfortunately had those problems last year. So they've got to figure out a way to get more pressure, and it looks like they are going to look into finding another outside pass rushing presence. And they've got to find a way to be a little bit better in the secondary, no question about it. So I think that's a very fair concern. Let's go back to Jon Burton now and another report from the Combine, as John Robinson, Mike Vrabel talked about what the Titans are indeed looking for.
The NFL Combine is underway here in Indianapolis, and later on this week, the Titans and the rest of the NFL will get a chance to watch the top draft prospects run, jump, and lift. But there's also another element to all this. The Titans will also get a chance to meet these players up close and personal in the interview process. NFL teams are afforded up to 60 15-minute interviews with player prospects. And while that may not be a whole lot of time to get to know someone, Titans general manager John Robinson says it's a critical element in the drafting process.
Chance to get some medical info on these guys, a chance to sit down and talk with them, visit with them in the interview settings, and get to see them perform on the field. So exciting week for our football team.
Mike Vrabel is in his first year as Titans head coach, but as a 14-year NFL veteran, he says he knows what to look for when he gets a player face-to-face. And he also says he'll have a trick or two up his sleeve.
The more that we can do to try to get them off, try to throw some curveballs or some change-ups, the better. See how they, good cop, bad cop, attack them a little bit, see how far you can push them.
These player interviews will continue all week, but on Friday, the real fun begins. That's when the players hit the field for their workouts. In Indianapolis, Jon Burton, News Channel 5.
All right, JB, thank you very much. You got out of hosting the show tonight, but you're still a big part of it, buddy. So thank you very much. All right, we got to take another break. We will get into some college basketball when we come back. March Madness has already tipped off, and it's fantastic. See you on the other side. This is Sportsline on News Channel 5 Plus.